And we are live. And it's Toronto Stevie Live. I am back. Let me just turn on some light. Oh, my lamp. I guess my lamp isn't working. But nonetheless, we are back. And I am back. And I am so happy to be back. Let me give you an explanation of what's been going on. Um, my previous computer did in fact finally had to be retired. And it couldn't handle the updates. It couldn't no longer support Windows. No longer supported the previous computer, and so um, I had to get a new computer, and it looks so much better. The picture quality on this new monitor as well is so much better. I've upgraded from Windows 10 to Windows 11, and um, it's really great to be back on the internet on Toronto Stevie Live. Like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know what the picture quality is like. I guess I'll have to. I forgot to check my light source, but nonetheless, I know it's a little dark, but um, let's get into it. First of all, um, Nasty Neil, I guess he's been busy, and so he didn't have a weekend show, or a show on Friday or a weekend show. But I guess that's going to have to delay my return to In Your Head Wrestling Radio. Nonetheless, before that happens, I'll give you the Saturday night's main event evaluation, followed by the Raw Report, the triumphant return of the Raw Report. Because those are the two shows that I watched this weekend. Saturday night's main event came through from the world's famous arena, Madison Square Garden in New York City. I noticed that they didn't, I don't think they sold out all the tickets. I was listening to the, I don't think they ever mentioned that they sold out the garden. So I am assuming that that it wasn't a sellout, but nonetheless, Madison Square Garden. The opening match of the night was for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. The champions, Paige and Brie Bella, defending the tag team titles against Fallon Henley and Lainey Reed, otherwise known as Fatal Influence. And they had JC Jane at ringside. And um, as you know, Paige was a substitute for Nikki Bella at WrestleMania, and they became the tag team champions, and they've held the belts since WrestleMania. But it was JC Jane distracting the referee, allowing the Fatal Influence to do some cheating behind the referee's back. Um, I think it was Lainey Reed grabbing the tights of Paige and getting the win. So Fatal Influence becomes your new women's tag team champions. Um, at some point in this match, one of the girls, I think it was Fallon Henley, took a shot to the mouth because as you saw them celebrating, walking up the aisles with the tag team titles, you could see some blood coming out of her mouth. And this was sort of a foreshadowing of things to come in the show. Um, the blood was played a major role in a later match, but I thought I would point this out because um, Fallon Henley wasn't the only one to bleed on this show. In fact, not the only woman to bleed on this show. So we go backstage, and everyone's favorite backstage interviewer and mine, Kathy Kelly, is interviewing Sami Zayn. He's a bit upset that he only had that 9-day reign, but He said, I don't want to paint myself a victim, but everything that's happened to me since I won the WWE Championship is egregious. And he's talking about CM Punk and Cody Rhodes having the main event, and he basically wants in on the main event at SummerSlam. There is uh, some people at ringside that I didn't know who any of these people were, but nonetheless, we get a Danhausen video. Um, and then in the gorilla position, JD McDonough is with Liv Morgan, Dirty Dominic Mysterio. So basically, he wants to face Danhausen, and that is actually, I believe that was the next match. It was no disqualifications. JD McDonough has the Judgment Day with him, or maybe it was Dirty Dom with him, taking on Danhausen in a no disqualification match. This one, um, you had Danhausen. I mean, the WWE has had Danhausen do a lot more wrestling and plus backstage segments. So he's really done a lot more in WWE than his entire time in AEW. Danhausen got to show his wrestling ability and Dirty JD McDonough flying around the ring. And I think at one point, uh, Dirty Dom interfered in the match. And I'm sorry, we've got a cat here. We've got a cat here meowing in the background. But nonetheless, JD, we had the interference of JD McDonough, but then Danhausen takes a powder, goes up the rampway to his cloning machine, and out comes, I think it was a member of the New York Knicks, the world champion New York Knicks. He comes down to the ring and gets an ovation from the Madison Square Garden crowd, but he nonetheless, I think, while Danhausen curses the heels, um, the New York Knicks guy grabs the heels and chokeslam them, and it was Danhausen hitting the Danhausen death drop, sort of his move. Actually, it was Sting's move, the Scorpion death drop. But he hits the Triple D Danhausen death drop on JD McDonough, pins him, and wins the no disqualification match. So then we go backstage. Kathy Kelly is with Lyra Valkyria, and she cuts a promo on Bayley. And this is actually, okay, right before that, come back for the commercial break. We have more celebrities at ringside that I don't recommend. And then right after the commercial break, we get Lyra Valkyria versus Bayley. This was an incredible match. Certainly a better match out of these two than I expected. A lot of violence, a lot of tough shots. I was impressed actually with both girls. As you know, the rumor on the internet is that this was Bayley's swan song, that she was leaving WWE, that she was going to AEW to join Mercedes Moné. So I have a feeling if this actually was the case, she certainly got quite the send off. And we have Anthony Chobo. How are you doing, buddy? So, Anthony, I'm so happy to be back on the internet. Got my new computer. And I'm doing the show. Let me know what you thought of Saturday night's main event, and particularly this match, Lyra Valkyria versus Bayley, and the Raw report. So let's get back into it. So bell rings, and these two really got into it. Had a lot of great shots, clubbing blows, and so the big move. I think Bayley was outside the ring. Lyra Valkyria was lying on the mat, and a good analysis came from Stevie Richards. Basically, Bayley got her arm up and she was going to club Lyra Valkyria, who was on the chest. And what basically Stevie Richards said was that Lyra Valkyria had tucked her chin when this blow came down, and because she had tucked her chin, when it came down, this part of the elbow came crashing down on Lyra Valkyria's nose and probably gave her a broken nose. Anyway, there was like blood immediately came pouring out of Lyra's nose, and it really added to the match, because Lyra is one of those girls taught no matter what happens, you go on with the show, and that's exactly what she did. She kept working, and the blood just kept pouring out of her nose, and it just added to the match. Quite honest, despite what happened, you keep going, and Lyra kept going, and she actually, I think, the referee tried to pause the match, but the girls wanted to keep going. Um, Actually, this was early in the match, so Lyra worked most of the match bleeding, um, because it wouldn't stop. At one point, Bailey put on a Boston Crab, but Lyra got out of it. Um, I think Lyra used her diving leg drop on Bailey, and tried to pin her, but Bailey got out of it. Um, Bailey went for the rose plant, and I think Lyra got out. Lyra got out of that. Lyra, I think she actually tried to do a Bailey to belly as well, um, and um, or Bailey trying to hit that move, but basically Lyra locked in a submission hold, and I think it was similar to what John Moxley has been doing in AEW, where you lock in um, uh, a bulldog choke on your opponent. Bailey tried to fight out of it, but eventually she went unconscious, and the referee stopped the match. So the referee stops the match and awards the victory to Lyra Valkyria. But even after she got the win, Lyra Valkyria threw Bailey out of the ring, locked in that bulldog choke again, and then gave Bailey the her finishing move on the steel stairs, the Nightwing on the steel stairs, and you just saw Bailey, her arms like lying over the steel stairs with her arms out like that and totally out of it. So, um, at most, you think that Bailey is going to be written off TV for a while. If not, she's gone from WWE. We're just going to have to wait and see what happens. I don't know what an update is on her contract, whether this was, her swan song, Bailey's swan song, and she's going to be in AEW in 6 months. But we're just going to have to wait and see. But I have to give that match a definite thumbs up. That was a fantastic match, and I suspect that it probably, I won't say it saved Lyra's career, but it certainly did rejuvenate it, because I had been on her for weeks saying that I just did not care about this program, did not care about Lyra Valkyria, but ever since she turned heel, that has certainly rejuvenated her career. So, congratulations, Lyra Valkyria. So, after this, we get a video, WrestleMania watch party, um, uh, and they basically announced NXT Stand Deliver will take place during WrestleMania. We get a video of Cody Rhodes and CM Punk coming back. Kathy Kelly is actually with the guys, and talking about their upcoming SummerSlam main event. And then we get the main event of Saturday night's main event, which was the tag team match. Cody Rhodes and CM Punk, the WWE champion, taking on the ring general Gunther and Sami Zayn. The stipulation of this match is that if Sami Zayn and Gunther win the match, then they are added to the SummerSlam main event, making it a fatal four-way. And it was bizarre seeing Sami Zayn, being portrayed as the heel with Gunther, since Gunther was the only heel in this match. Sami is kind of on the fence here. He's trying to be a babyface, but when called upon to be a heel, he is a heel as well. But nonetheless, you had Gunther doing all of the usual, but power bombs, and tried to put the other guys in the sleeper hold. Sami Zayn, I think he actually did hit his Lua kick on CM Punk and tried to pin Punk, but Punk got out of it. Um, you had Cody Rhodes hitting the figure four leg lock. And I think you had at one point, yeah, it was the double thing. CM Punk got the Anaconda Vice on Sami Zayn, and Cody Rhodes put the figure four leg lock on Gunther. And in order to get out of this, to prevent Sami Zayn from tapping out, Gunther, I think he poked CM Punk in the eyes while he was trapped in the figure four leg lock to break up that hold. And eventually, you had everybody hitting everybody with moves, laying them all out. I think at one point CM Punk did get a go to sleep on Gunther, but nonetheless, they laid there for a while. Eventually, everybody got back up. Um, I think Cody comes in, he hits a crossroads on Gunther, gets a 2 count, and nonetheless, at one point, everybody was down, or everybody was, the referee was distracted. So Gunther um, grabbed the WWE titles, or he knocked down Cody Rhodes. He goes to the ringside, grabs the belt, sneaks back into the ring, and what he's going to do is hit Cody Rhodes in the face with the WWE Championship, when all of a sudden, Nick Aldis comes out from underneath the ring, and he basically, he distracts Gunther, and I think at one point Nick Aldis, he basically got the belt away from Gunther and smashed Gunther in the face with the championship belt, allowing Gunther to walk right into, I think it was a GTS from CM Punk. Cody Rhodes got the pinfall, and so the winners of the match were Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. And so basically, it denies Gunther the opportunity, and Sami Zayn for that matter, the opportunity to be in the main event of SummerSlam. So it remains a singles match: Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk, and Gunther gets screwed over by Nick Aldis. And I was quite impressed with this main event. I know that some people were. I think it was maybe it was Brian Alvarez who really ripped apart this main event, saying, looking at the logic of the storyline, basically saying, why would Nick Aldis grant them? And he's the one who actually, I guess, in storyline, he's the one who granted this stipulation of, and then he turns around and screws Gunther and Sami Zayn out of the main event. But basically, to follow this up, I think it was later on, either in the SummerSlam kickoff, or um, they eventually made a SummerSlam match of Gunther versus Nick Aldis. And if you're a wrestling fan, you're well aware that Nick Aldis was Magnus in TNA. He was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. But in WWE, uh, if you only follow WWE, you may not be aware of Nick Aldis's wrestling career. So to see him come back and wrestle in WWE, this would be for the very first time. So at SummerSlam, they're going to have Gunther versus Nick Aldis. It may be difficult to call this match because I kind of want Nick Aldis to win, but considering what I think will be eventually a Gunther versus Brock Lesnar match, I'm kind of thinking that Gunther is probably going to, Nick Aldis will do very well, but Gunther will eventually win this match. So we're going to have to wait and see as I think we only got 2 weeks or two SmackDowns before it actually takes place. So we'll see how, they're going to have to hotshot this, but nonetheless, it's to be continued at SummerSlam. To be continued starting at SmackDown and then at SummerSlam. So let's get into the Raw report. This came from Detroit, Michigan, the Little Caesars Arena. They show highlights of Saturday night's main event. They show the Vision coming to the ring, or to the to the ring. And they actually start immediately with a wrestling match. There's no long 15-minute segment. They start immediately with wrestling, and I actually appreciated the beginning of this show because I'm someone who I really don't like those opening segments they've been doing for like 30 plus years. So let's start a non-title tag team match. It's the Vision, Braun Breaker, and Austin Theory, with Logan Paul and Maxine Dupree at ringside, taking on Javon Evans and Dragon Lee. The baby faces put up a good fight. At one point, I think Javon Evans threw Braun Breaker out of the ring and then into the timekeeper's area, and then he ran around the ring and he threw himself at Braun Breaker into the timekeeper's area, coming back into the ring. Dragon Lee and Javon Evans tried to put up a good fight, but nonetheless, eventually Braun Breaker came back. I think he hit a spear on one of the baby faces and pinned him. Maybe it was Dragon Lee, and the Vision got the win. And then they started to beat up on Javon Evans. This brought out the Alpha Academy, Otis and Akira Tozawa. They tried to fight off the Vision, but the Vision came back, and I think it was Braun Breaker hitting another spear on Otis, and Otis was laid out. And then the Vision ended the segment standing over the fallen Otis with showing their tag team titles. So then we had a backstage segment, Dirty Dominic Mysterio and JD McDonough. They are trying to shake down Danhausen for the money that they say that Danhausen owes them. And Danhausen just says, "I'll go get it." Now, another big return in WWE. There's a video, and the video is of Big Cass, Colin Cassidy, Big Cass. He was W. Morrissey in TNA, and in AEW. He was Big Bill. That's right, Big Bill in AEW. Well, now he's coming back to the WWE. And so when he does come back, I'm kind of wondering if they're going to bring back Enzo Amore and it's going to be a tag team, or whether he's just going to be a single. We're going to have to wait and see what the plans are for him, because clearly, he got some TV time in AEW, but even in AEW, there was a ceiling that he faced. So we're going to have to see what they do in WWE. So there is a video of Danhausen and JD McDonough at Saturday night's main event. Danhausen comes down to the ring. I think he's got a briefcase with him. The Judgment Day come down and attack him. Joe Henry is involved in this, and he makes the save. Joe Henry saves Danhausen. The Judgment Day come back to Adam Pearce, and I think JD McDonough has the briefcase. He opens it and realizes that um, there's fake money in it, not real money. So he throws the briefcase away, and the briefcase hits Obafemi, and Obafemi is pissed off, so he demands a match against JD McDonough, and Adam Pearce basically makes the match. So coming back from the commercial break, this was basically a squash match. Was over in a couple of minutes. Obafemi got his big moves, throwing JD McDonough around and hitting a fall from grace and pinning him in only a couple of minutes. And then Obafemi basically looks into the camera and he basically says, I think he said something like, there'll be no more fake money, no more BS. The real money is in Hell in the Cell. And he warns Brock Lesnar. So then we get a commercial break, and then coming back from the commercial break, Solo Sikoa comes through the crowd and gets in the ring, and he says, I'm not even supposed to be on this show, but he wants Seth Rollins to come to the ring, so Seth Rollins comes down to the ring, and Seth Rollins basically he says, welcome to Monday Night Rollins, to Solo Sikoa. And he basically asks him, are we going to talk or are we going to fight? And the crowd is yelling, fight, but Solo Sikoa just says, no, I'm here to talk. And the crowd boos. So basically, Solo Sikoa, he brings up the fact that Seth Rollins, he sacrificed himself so that Roman Reigns would lose the WWE title. And he basically makes an offer to Seth Rollins that he's going to offer to have his back and return the favor. And Rollins just says, I'll think about it, and leaves the ring. And I think this brought out Jacob Fatu. He heads down to the ring, but Solo Sikoa immediately takes a powder. And there's nothing happened at that point. So we come back from the commercial break, and there's a video of the SummerSlam kickoff party where Penta and Chad Gable go face to face. But this leads into, after the commercial break, a tag team match. It's Penta and Chad Gable versus Ethan Page and Rusev. And as I've said in a previous video, it certainly seems that Rusev and Chad and All Ego Ethan Page are nothing more than jobbers in WWE. Yes, they might win a match once in a while, but for the most part, they are there to put their opponents over. Now, I'm really not impressed with Ethan Page. If he's just going to be a mid-card jobber in WWE, I'm perfectly fine with that. I think, WWE does need some jobbers to put the baby faces over. But it really is sad to see Rusev as one of these types. He really should be basically break away from Ethan Page. And, I'd certainly like to see him booked better, stronger, maybe even a mid-card champion, rather than what he's being sort of, yes, the paycheck is probably pretty good, but I wish that they would do more with Rusev, because in this match, I think Chad Gable got Rusev down to the match, and he applied the ankle lock, much like Kurt Angle. Ethan Page tried to save his partner, but he couldn't do it. In fact, he tried to save him, but Penta basically ran at Ethan Page, stepped over Chad Gable, and he hit a Mexican destroyer on Ethan Page to take him out. And Rusev had no choice but to tap out to the ankle lock. So the winners of the tag team match were Chad Gable and Penta, and they celebrated after the match. But nonetheless, I think this use of Rusev has been pretty bad. There's a backstage segment with Jacob Fatu and Seth Rollins, in which Rollins dares Fatu to hit him, but um, he knows that Fatu is under strict orders from Roman Reigns not to lay a hand on him. So Fatu just basically says after Roman Reigns beats you at SummerSlam, um, that he's going to beat his ass. So they announced that Jacob Fatu will take on LA Knight later on tonight. Coming back from kind of commercial break, there's Paul Heyman does a video. He is not there live, so he basically cuts a video on Obafemi, saying you're having the best rookie year of your life, but at Hell in the Cell, Brock Lesnar, your rookie year will end. And so then we get another video. I think it was oh yeah, so they all night they were doing these Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins videos, telling their story, um, and I think there was about 4 or 5 of these sprinkled in throughout the entire show. So coming back from the commercial break, um, they showed Nick Aldis and Gunther getting into a fight at the SummerSlam kickoff show, and that Triple H has booked them for the match at SummerSlam. This is where they announced it, and then we get into a non-title match. Dominic Mysterio, the AAA Mega Champion, taking on Joe Hendry, and at one point Danhausen came down to the ring and he wanted to curse Liv Morgan, but Liv Morgan punched him, so Danhausen took a powder. Coming back from the commercial break, Joe Hendry and Dominic Mysterio continued their match. You had Liv Morgan kind of interfering behind the referee's back. So Danhausen comes back and he's got Io Sky with him in his little coffin car. Io Sky comes down to the ring. She brawls with Liv Morgan, and um, this allowed the referee to get distracted by the girls. So behind the referee's back, Danhausen slips into the ring, hits the Danhausen death drop on Dominic Mysterio. When the referee comes back into the ring, um, Joe Hendry basically covers Dominic Mysterio and pins him 1, 2, 3 and wins the match. So some good old-fashioned cheating from Danhausen. We get a backstage segment of LA Knight coming back from the commercial break. They announced that at SummerSlam, Danhausen will face Dominic Mysterio. And then they run over the card for Raw for the following week. I think this is the SummerSlam Go Home show. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins will do a face-to-face. They announced that there's going to be a non-title match of the Vision versus the Alpha Academy. But they do announce a title match. Sol Ruca will defend the Women's Intercontinental title against Raquel Rodriguez. They announced that Joe Hendry and Danhausen will have a concert. And they announced that there will be an official Hell in the Cell weigh-in with Brock Lesnar and Obafemi. Look for another brawl, possibly. So this heads into, I believe this went into the main event. They kind of took their own sweet time about it. LA Knight is making his entrance. They announced that at SummerSlam there'll be a 6-man tag team match. LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, and Royce Keys taking on the Usos and Jacob Fatu. Not really interested in this. Just trying to get guys on the card. Anyway, so after the commercial break is the main event. And I think at one point, I think Jimmy came. Is it Jimmy came down to the ring. Jimmy Uso came down to the ring while this match is going on, and he just stands at ringside, and you kind of knew what was going to happen here. Solo Sokoa comes up from he comes out from the crowd, comes up behind Jimmy Uso and starts punching away at him. He tries to hit the Samoan spike, but Jacob Fatu saves him. Suicide dive. Jacob gets in the ring. LA Knight gets into a brawl with him. Um, Jacob tries to hit the pop-up Samoan drop, but LA Knight gets out of it. He does hit the blunt force trauma. But Jimmy Uso is distracting the referee. So Royce Keys interferes, or he comes down and he takes out Jimmy Uso. Jey Uso comes down to the ring. He gets some super kicks on Royce Keys. So you have all this action going on outside the ring, but inside the ring, Jacob Fatu takes down LA Knight, hits the pop-up Samoan drop and the mighty moonsault, and he gets the win. So Jacob actually wins the match. But immediately after that, Solo Sikoa gets in the ring, attacks Jacob Fatu. Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso come in. I think Jey hit a spear on Solo Sikoa. Royce Keys tries to help out, clotheslines both of the Usos. But then I think it was Royce Key, Jacob Fatu took out Royce Keys. And I think they hit the Usos. I think they hit the 1D on Royce Keys and took him out. Sorry. So then LA Knight comes back. He tries to fight off the Usos, but then Jacob hits the Tongan Death Grip to take him out. So it really was the Bloodline guys really coming across as the heels in this match. It certainly seemed that the baby faces were LA Knight, Royce Keys, and Solo Sikoa of all people, with the Usos and Jacob Fatu as the heels. So that's how Monday Night Raw went off the air. You know, it was okay, an okay main event, but you know, when you don't have like your champion CM Punk wasn't on the show, Roman Reigns wasn't on the show. I guess it was a show lacking in like the main event star power. This was really a show for the mid card, trying to build some momentum for SummerSlam. But nonetheless, I can't really fault it that much. So I will give it a thumbs up. I know you might think this was a skippable show, and they're probably building for a bigger show next week, which is the SummerSlam Go Home Raw Monday Night Raw. So I do expect next week's show to be an improvement over this one, but we'll have to wait and see if that actually comes to pass. So I'm so glad to be back. This is Toronto Stevie Live. Thank you for watching, and I'll keep an eye out if Nasty Neil has it in Your Head Wrestling Radio this week. If so, I'll try to be on and make my return to the show. Let me know what you thought again of Saturday night's main event, and let me know what you thought of Monday Night Raw. I'll post this up. Like and subscribe to my channel. I'm sorry I was away for a couple of weeks, but I'm back. So good night, everybody, and thank you for watching. And I am out of here. Bye-bye, everybody.